Welcome to Emotional Support Siblings Podcast, where we get weird because we are weird. My name's Luke, and this is my emotional support sister, Sarah.
Yeah, this week we're going to talk about when we tried to be normal. And for us, that was a very bold choice.
Yeah.
So I guess grab your emotional support beverage and join us so we can talk about how highly overrated it is to be normal.
Yep. 100%. It, you know what's funny about exactly what you just said? Just needing to try to be normal is such a paradox. Like, it should just be
Mm,
normal to be whatever the fuck. And society has like everybody has their different interpretation of what normal and abnormal is, but when we were growing up, it I feel like we didn't have all the social media, all the influence that way, so we got it from like television and then just people in school in general.
hmm
And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's such a weird thing, and like I still battle with it, but the more that I like bring my weirdness close to me and like just like embrace it, the better I feel. And it's so weird because like what I thought people liked and what I think people are going to like if I try to act that way, as opposed to like just being myself, like no, like I feel like I'm so much more well received when I'm just like fucking weird ass crazy Stim and Luke, you know. Um,
I agree with that. I think that it's one of those things you don't realize how exhausting it is to try and be this other version of yourself. I did not realize how exhausting it was until like recently being in for example, like family environments where I go back to this version of myself that was, 15 years ago and I get home and now I read about it and watch TikTok videos about it where people are like, yeah, you're masking and you almost just like fall back into this pattern of what you were once like. And so it's so exhausting now to like be this person in these environments because that's just who you were, and who you present yourself to be to others.
yeah, yeah, and I think finding yourself um, requires getting uncomfortable and being a little fucking weird, being different. I actually just watched a video the other day that really reminded me of you, and it was basically stating of how the the outlier. It was talking about the scapegoat, in like in a traditional family setting. The scapegoat is generally the one who breaks free and becomes healthy, the healthiest version of themselves, and then creates a boundary to which they're not going to put up with that anymore. So they become the scapegoat. They become the one that the finger gets pointed on because they've been making healthy changes. But the truth is you're the one making healthy boundaries that we should have been taught. And the other part is too is like people don't like change, especially when they're stuck in their same
Mhm.
shit. People just don't like it.
That's
I would
exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, there's times that I mean, change frightens everybody. Comfort comes from you know what we learn and what we see, and living in that. It does seem to be the easier path. But I think in the long run, we talked a lot about parenting a couple weeks ago on our podcast, and we got in depth about that. But like, if we truly want to break these cycles and be the true change and see our children do better than we did, then like, how do we show them that? Is by us being willing and able and capable of making those changes.
Yeah, but I think there's such a balance like to that idea. Like I see myself I had to teach my nervous system safety, right? Because I was so strung out in fight or flight for so long that it caused me to basically be so sick. And so going back to like, this is what time we wake up. This is what time we go to bed. This is what time we eat. This is when we have a snack. Like, that's how I had to teach myself I was safe. But at the same time, now, they talk about like neuroplasticity in your brain, right? And how important it is to change simple things about your day to day. Maybe you drive the same way to church every single day. Take a different path. Like how important it is to regain your awareness so you're not on autopilot all the time either. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, we want to teach ourselves safety, but we also want to continue to like have our brain be functional.
Yeah. 100%. I think um, being adaptable and capable of change requires you to put yourself in those uncomfortable changing situations. And I think that's a very simple idea, but I mean it's a very very good basis for someone who truly wants to make a change in their lives. If they're going to their 9 to 5 every single day, Monday through Friday, taking the same route there, same route home, they know, they stop at the same fucking coffee place every single morning. They know them by name, and nothing changes. Maybe try a different coffee shop. Maybe take a different route. Like, I think, yeah, I really like that idea. I'm blessed in the sense that my job is never the same. I'm always going to new places all the
Mhm.
time. Um, I do much better with structure in the sense of like a few things when it comes to like spiritual health, when it comes to like praying. Like I need to do it in the morning. I need to do it before I have a chance to fuck my day up. And I need to do it at the end of my day. Like those are two big ones. Working out. Like if I don't say at this time on these days I'm going to work out, it's very easy for me to like not implement that. So like I dedicate time to those things, but with my life and having a newborn, like there is no fucking structure in sleep schedule. There is no structure. I could plan my whole week and nothing is going to go according to plan. And how am I going to overcome that? Am
Yeah.
I?
I mean, I
Am I
can, oh, sorry.
no, I was just going to say, am I just going to be a bitter asshole because nothing's going my way, or am I just going to roll with the punches and handle my business?
Yeah. I was going to say to that same sentiment, like working in hospice as long as I had, um, I don't want to say this like I'm glad I worked in hospice because my patients passed away, but in a sense, like it continued to provide me the opportunities for new homes and new families and new dynamics and, new variations of like this, way to care because, nobody fit into a box. So everybody, especially at end of life, we all die very differently, and being able to kind of like navigate that in those moments, I agree, was like a really good way to function my brain. But when everything kind of came crashing down on me gosh, we're almost over like a year, and we're almost at like a year and a half now from when like
so
everything
crazy.
got. I know. It is so crazy because things were so bad. Um, but I think about that, and I had changed my job in the midst of all of that because I just needed something where not necessarily I could shut my brain off, but like something where I clocked in and I worked my 9 to 5 and I could, read my cases, do my job, shut off my computer, and I was done. And I'm so blessed and I'm so thankful that I was able to find work that way with my background, you know and now like that's the same thing is like it's so nice to be in that place because burnout in healthcare is so real. Like I feel deeply for the people that care for other people because you don't just get to go home and shut your brain off. Like you think about those patients and those families and the things that you were doing. And I think about all of us that worked in COVID, my closest friends that worked in ICU. And, we had this like bridge where like I remember Miranda talking about like how painful it was to see these people dying the way that they were dying. And me talking to her about like, yeah, in ICU, you're fighting, 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 fighting. Whereas in hospice, you were like finding comfort in education and support and like letting these people die the way that they wanted to die in their homes comfortably, where, in the hospital, it usually isn't formulated that way. That was that was a wild time too. Can you
Yeah.
believe that was, 6 years ago too? I feel like everybody talks about it like COVID was just yesterday, but 6 years has gone so fast.
Yeah. No, I think that it's weird because I feel like the opposite, where it doesn't feel like it was just yesterday. It feels like a
Really?
lifetime ago. Yeah. I don't. Well, it's weird
Maybe
for
it was
me
just
too because like I got my shit together after COVID. So like during that time,
so
I was
everything was really just a blitz at that point for you.
yeah, dude. I thought that COVID was an advantage at the time. The yeah, no, that time feels like a lifetime ago. I don't. It's really weird to think about. I think me and Justine had started dating like 3 months before COVID started.
You guys got the shut in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You had the shut in romance where you guys were like, well, we're fucking stuck together now.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. It was. I don't know. It was cool because like the stress that we had at the very beginning because we moved in together fairly, very very quickly. But our stress wasn't like financial stress because like the government payments and payouts and all this stuff. Like we were just chilling. We I don't know. It to me. It almost feels like and I know this is gonna sound terrible. I don't want COVID to happen again. But at the time, it felt like almost like a vacation. Like
Yeah, listen, man, same. We had just had Madeline in January. The shutdowns were in March. And so, Jonathan, with a newborn, he had already taken some time off to kind of like help me with the transition. And he had just kind of gotten back into work, and then everything shut down for basically 2 weeks. And when that happened, I was like, hell yeah, like we get to parent, basically our firstborn daughter for like the first 2, 3, 4 months of her life together, where I was like, I'm so thankful that somebody's here to help me because yikes, postpartum was hard. I, was yelling at the good Lord upstairs because here I am with this baby that I can't feed. I'm sitting on this pump for hours, not producing any milk. I'm doing all the things. I'm eating the cookies that they want you to eat, and I'm going to the breastfeeding clinic. I'm drinking extra water. I'm making sure to up my calories. I'm doing everything that somebody could possibly tell me to do, and I can't feed this baby. I'm just like, she's losing weight. Oh my God, it's so terrible. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm literally failing at being a mom. My kid's been alive for a month, you know? And then like, so shout out to anybody that goes through the breastfeeding journey, bottle feeding. I think no matter what you choose, keeping a baby, like thank God we live in a day and age that you have options. But like I get so stressed out on like TikTok because I'll come across moms that just berate other moms. They're like, I want to bottle feed my baby because my mental health matters too. And I'm like, yes. And then the moms in the comments just and I'm like, oh my God, this is so terrible. Like, why would you do that to someone? She knows that she's gonna be a better mom. That's like, the same fight when you're a working mom, where other moms are like, how could you ever choose to work instead of being at home with your babies? Like that. Honestly, that was what the first thing that I wrote down this week when we were talking about normal,
yeah.
because I went down to part-time work with my first two. So I was working maybe 15 to 20 hours a week PRN, and I was at home with my kids. And for me, in my life, like I wanted to be that mom. I wanted to be like, "Ugh, we have play dates and we go to the park and we do, you know what I mean? Like I wanted so badly. But like as time marched on, my first two are 18 months apart, and Emery started to get to about 2.5. And I was like, I gotta do something else. Like, I love my kids, but I was a better mom to them the nights that I was able to go to work and come home than I ever was being at here full time for them. And for me, I think some of that is integrated into childhood and like my own personal triggers and things that maybe I hadn't dealt with before having kids. But also like I'm just one of those people that I am really thankful for, graduating early. I'm just like I pushed myself, and Not that I don't think pushing yourself can't happen being a full-time mom. I think it's the hardest thing in the entire world to do, hands down, because I've done it, I've been there, and it's almost a reprieve for me to be able to go to work and do something other than be at home with kids who can't communicate, who can't go to the bathroom, who can't make food for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, I live the best of both worlds now. I'm, at home with my kids. I work remotely, but I do have help and stuff. And for me, that allows me to take my lunch breaks and be with my babies. And I'm very thankful for those things, the way that COVID shifted. But when you think about normal, I think everybody has this mentality that if you don't do these certain things, like I thought something was wrong with me because I am surrounded by other moms from my church that are full-time stay-at-home moms with multiple kids, and they are powerhouses. And here I am, basically what I felt as bowing out to go to work because I need a break. And like these are moms that are cooking, from scratch. They're making their own freaking bread. They're homeschooling their kids. I mean, they're doing everything. And I literally am like, I don't know how to do that because mentally I was not well. And so when
Yeah.
I think about normal, trying to be normal, I tried to do that for, the first 3 years of the girls' life. And I just, I was not the best version of myself that I could be, I think.
Well, I think just to hit on that, like I in like a broader sense that I mean that's the hard part about um, the influence that certain things have. Social media. You talked about the moms berating other moms. You know what I mean? Now you're talking about that because you see these different things, and one of the coolest things that I've learned over the last couple of years is like I used to think it was so scary that I didn't know my path or have any direction, but I think that's such an advantageous place to be if you allow it to be. Like, uh, I mean, career wise, I've changed my career 3 times in the last 4 years. And I've been successful at all of them. It was more of like trying to figure it out when it came to friendships, when it came to community, the things that I did, the places that I put myself in. But I could go on to TikTok or Facebook Reels or whatever, and I could look at it like I see what this guy's doing, and that's what I want. You know what I mean? And I could be bitter or whatever, or I could just go out and see what it is, try it. I might not fucking like it. Um, but everybody has an opinion, and I
How
feel
did we get
like
to a point where everybody has an opinion and they just want to tell you what it is all the time? Like, guys, we got to reel it in. Like, just because you think about something doesn't mean you have to spew it to everybody else.
yeah,
This is your
yeah,
PSA for the day. Like, you don't have to be that person.
right,
Poison other people for what you think is what they should be doing. Like, sometimes you can feel how you feel, but if that person's not harming someone, actively doing, like, also people are walking paths that you have no clue about. Maybe that mom that you're yelling at, maybe her dad just died.
right,
And her hormones are so messed up that she can't feed her baby because her body is reacting to this grief. Like, you have no clue. Like,
yeah.
you do not have to just be on the internet, say whatever you want all the time.
And I mean, and I think those same people, and I mean, this is another general opinion, I guess. But I feel like a lot of those people that do that, where they're just sitting there, like they look for that type of shit. They look for conflict.
Mm.
This is what interests them, and that's fine. I used to engage in it. I used to be involved in it. Like with everything, I see politics as probably like the biggest,
Sure.
example I could use, but it goes for anything. I mean, you go on TikTok and you search anything about, my wife's done it the entire pregnancy about the TikTok rabbit hole, but anything with pregnancy, everybody has an opinion. None of this shit's factual. This is what worked for this
Everything's
person.
experience based.
Yeah.
Yes.
And And I feel like, okay, get a couple ideas or start with one, keep it simple. Try it. If it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that you're wrong and they're right, right? Or their way is better than yours. Like, that's not how this shit works. And I feel like I used to get trapped up in they have it figured out and I have no fucking idea. Whereas now I'm glad that they think they have it figured out and I'm glad that I don't have a fucking thing figured out. You know?
Yeah, there's so much to learn. Yeah, and I think that that's part of the problem too, is people, I try and tell people all the time, like, yeah, we have a lot of access to a lot of information, but my issue with a lot of it is you and I sit down at a computer or our phones and you Google top 10 reasons why coffee is bad for you. And I'm going to Google top 10 reasons coffee is good for you. I bet you we both find an adequate amount of information to
Yeah.
disprove the other person and be like,
Right.
yeah, see, but this one says this. And I mean, like, no matter what you're searching for, you will find the information to agree with you.
Yep.
We become our own gods. That's just what we do.
Yep.
And I'm like, bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that with so when I first got like my personal training license, I had imposter syndrome because like I met my second client was twice as strong as me. Like I was like, what the fuck is this? How am I? He's gonna train me. I'm not gonna train him. You know?
Yeah.
And I would look up on TikTok and YouTube and all this. Maybe not so much YouTube, but just like I would see influencer videos of like how to do certain lifts. You could see the same lift being done 10 different times and they're all going to have pointers of what to do and what not to do and they're all fucking different.
Mm-hmm.
They're all different. There's a few that like are spot on, like this is the way, this is what you're supposed to feel and all this stuff. But like when it comes to the pointers of like where your feet should be placed or how wide your hand should be on a bench press and this and that, like it says don't do this, and then the next guy says no, do this and not that. Like what the fuck,
Yeah.
you know? No wonder so many people get, fucked up before they join a gym.
Yeah. And I mean, that comes down to every facet of livelihood. And I mean, like, think about, the information about like food. Like, you got the paleo people and the vegan people and you know, I mean, no matter what, like, now you got there's a big push for carnivore and like all of these different like types of diet. Whereas, I really think, like, at the end of the day, like, we are literally making things too complicated. Like, let's simplify it. If you're eating an adequate amount of food that are whole foods that are coming from the ground, and you're drinking water, and you're moving your body, and you're exposing yourself to sunlight, like, you don't
It's
have to
working.
overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know? And I think a lot of it too is just bringing it back to simplicity, you know,
Absolutely.
when we were growing up. What it looked like I mean, like, what was your perception of normal? How were you trying to be normal? Um, and kind of like how that affected, I guess, your upbringing too.
Um well, it's weird because like when I think of like childhood, like I felt like it was pretty normal. Like I felt like I had a pretty good, not like a good idea who I am and what I'm gonna be, but like I had like a confidence about me that um like I loved playing baseball, man. I love playing baseball. I love playing sports in general, but baseball in particular. And I remember like that was all I thought about, dude. I was obsessed. But like normal in our household, like I think our version of normal when I started going to hang out with friends and saw what I saw, like I remember going over to my buddy Rob's house and like they I had never been over there and them not have snacks. That they always had food. They were always going out to eat as a family or cooking at home. They had get-togethers. They spent time together at home. And so like when I started seeing that in like my friendships, like when I went over to their house and like how the different families were with each other, um, not to say ours was like crazy bad, but like I felt like we didn't spend a ton of time together as a family, and we sure as shit didn't have snacks all the time. I mean, I remember I would have to ask mom if they can have a Coke, if they can have a
Hmm.
drink. Like I would have to ask her before, giving it out to somebody because we would get in trouble and whatever. But yeah, I mean, so um, those things and like I don't know. As soon as I started realizing like I I felt like probably between the ages of like 12 and I don't know 12 and 32 years old. No, probably like sometime between like 12 and 15, like I started feeling, like the influences that I had between dad and Josh, the male role models that I had in my life, that I felt like I needed to be somewhat like them. And so I did. I quit. I remember Josh quit sports and he started working. I quit sports, started working. And that seemed to be normal. So like when it comes to like upbringing, like I just followed suit. I was the youngest. I thought that's what we had to do. It was always
Well,
told. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish your
No,
thought.
no, I was just gonna say I remember being told like if we played sports that they would help us with whatever like insurance or whatever, especially getting into like high school and gas and stuff. But like I felt like because you and Josh stopped playing sports in high school and started working, that's what I was supposed to do too. And I thought that was normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think back to, I mean, I remember my best friend Steph, you would ask her all the time, like, just ride the bus home with us. Because back in that day, your parents could just send a note to the school, so and so is gonna come home and be at our house today, and you guys could swap buses or whatever. And but Stephanie was never allowed to do that. Her family, her mom had dinner on the table every night at 4:30, and they all four sat down every night and had dinner together. And then Stephanie was allowed to come over and spend the night and hang out, but they were together for family dinner every single night, and she did not miss it. Her dad was very diligent about that. And then I I re I recall a little differently going into like the sports thing. Um, I think that there was maybe a conversation that there would be help. But I wanted to keep playing softball, but it was made very clear to me that I was, I was kind of stuck. Um, I don't know what happened at that point with our parents, but I do remember, being left at softball practice and no one showing up to get me. Um, Kelly has very vivid memories of us being at like cheerleading, and her parents telling Kelly like she was gonna come, like our parents were gonna bring Kelly home, and Kelly was like left. She has told me this memory that we were out like at Black River at a football game, and Kelly told me like, yeah, your parents were supposed to take me home and they left me. Like,
Hell yeah.
and yeah,
God.
so I think about high school, and the conversation that was always made out to me was essentially that like you're kind of stuck. I remember being stuck at softball practice my freshman year, and one of our friends is like a year older than most of us. So she had her license earlier, and I remember asking Allie, I was like, no one's here. And like, thank God she has a kind heart. She's like, I'm not just gonna leave you at the softball field. I was like, I got $3. I didn't buy my lunch today because obviously at the time I had an eating disorder. So I saved my $3 from lunch money. I gave Allie the $3 to drive me home.
Mm.
And that's what, I think about those memories. I think about, I used to pocket the $20 for lunch that was made for the lunch for the week. I remember explicitly being told that, well, if you're not going to buy lunch, then there's no reason for me to give you money. And there went my money. And I never got handed another dime for lunch anymore because I wasn't eating. So why would they give me money for me to take and use?
Mm.
Uh, and then for me, I was at that point, I was like, there wasn't any point in me playing sports anymore. I was just like, I'd rather just work, got a job at Ponderosa just so I could make some money and put gas in my car and save up money and be able to drive and stuff. Um, so yeah, that was normal. And again, same thing with the food. I mean, it was feast or famine. So our dad is an artist, and work is good when the work is good. And it was during the summertime. I mean, and my parents weren't the kind of people that would like plan financially like appropriately for when things weren't so great time, you know? Um, they would overspend in the summer. Like, if you got a little jangle in your pocket, you're spending it out at the grocery store. And I mean, we would have gobs and gobs of food. Um, and then, all of that kind of like cut out, went down significantly in the wintertime and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's weird because again, I don't like I'm sure like if I thought more in depth about like actual memories, I remember a lot of like especially teenage years more of in like a broad sense. I remember I stopped getting lunch money my senior year because I did that work release program. I forget what it was called at school, but where you'd only have to go half a day because you were working X amount of hours,
Mm.
and I would leave like so when the lunch bell rang, instead of me going to lunch, I would just go to work, and um yeah, so I stopped getting lunch money senior year. I don't know. I think, but yeah, I mean that was a lot of the normal that we like that I feel like that I've had to kind of counter in my adult life. Where you said feast or famine, I mean that's how I lived up until like very very recently. It was an addiction. I spent every dollar I had the second I got it, and then nothing, and then you know what I mean. So it was like that through my entire addiction, and then I even see
It's
myself
so
doing it.
funny. Somebody told me they were like, nobody works harder than an addict trying to get their next fix. And I was
True.
like, ain't that the truth? Like, you're one of the hardest working people that I know. Thank God you've come through, you know. But I
Yeah,
mean, I just find that like, yeah, yeah, that's true. You always find a way to make a buck, right?
yeah. Or steal a buck. I mean, whatever. But
Fair.
but yeah, I it was definitely like that in addiction, and then like even like coming out of that, I remember like the first 2 years because I was trying so hard to get my feet back on the ground. That I would go to work, I'd go to the gym, and then to a meeting, but my money was already dedicated before I ever got it. Uh, and I tried to, and it helped me tremendously. But now that I've gotten out of a lot of that debt, and like I've gotten some things, like I still catch myself doing it. It's really hard for me to save money. I'm not even. I used to be super super materialistic, and there's still some things that I really enjoy and like, and I think it's okay to do those things. But overall, a lot of the times when I get money, I think I have this fear embedded in my head from like growing up, mom and dad, that I need to make sure I stay out of debt and ahead. Like before the baby came, me and Justine went to Sam's Club and like stocked up on, we don't need 60 paper towel rolls. You know what I mean? Like we're fine. But we did that, and then like toilet paper too and all this stuff. And it makes me feel good to know that I'm ahead, but I also feel like it's a fear. It's all it is a fear.
And finding the ways that you can control it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, same. You might have that right now, but you think insurance is going to reimburse you for your paper towels if it all got burnt? You know what I mean? They went up in price. So what's ahead? I mean, but
Right.
same. I went to the other end of the spectrum for sure. I was the only one with a savings account, and there were times that I paid the mortgage at our house There were times that, you know, money came out of my pocket just to be able to help get through. You know what I mean? Because I was the only one that could do it. And that was a massive, burden to bear when I'm 20 years old, working 3 to 11 plus doing my clinicals every day from 6 to 2:30. I mean, I was up, drinking monsters and just getting to where I needed to be to do my clinical, to change into my
Mhm.
other scrubs to get to work at 3 o'clock. And then I'd go and work 3 to 11 and I'd be so tired. But my buddy April would be like, come on, we'll just go get a pitcher of beer. You know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, yeah, I got to. You know what I mean? And that was life
Yeah.
for a while. That was life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you know, today what is really cool, like with all of this backstory, um, and everything, like what we kind of started off with like embracing the weirdness, embracing like learning new ways and behaviors and all these things. Because like, I mean, everything that I've learned up to today has come from somewhere. But like, I've broadened my influences, and one of my favorite quotes, and I've probably already said it on one of the episodes of this podcast, but it's show me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you'll be in 5 years.
Hmm.
And not to say that I don't have the same friends from a couple years ago or whatever, but I know like from my addiction, like I don't stay in touch with any of them unless they're in recovery, in active recovery. So it changed, and then like even in recovery, it started with how do I just like stay sober? Like how do I just like do that? You know, and I had a friend group and I learned from them, and I'm so grateful for that. I saw people living in recovery and not ruining their fucking lives. But it's changed from that, and it's changed so many times over time. It's changed in the fitness world, it's changed in business in general, the community that I've had. But like I have this big group of influences that have taught me, and I was never open to that. I thought, one of the things that I remember growing up, like with the feast I just remember you and Josh like went off to college right away after you graduated, and I didn't, and that scared the shit out of me. I was like, they know exactly what the fuck they're gonna do the rest of their life, and like all my friends in high school, we graduated, they're going off to college, and not me. So I felt like not having any direction was such a like I was so wrapped up in the fact that I didn't have any direction that I didn't give anything a try. So like now, I was just talking to somebody about it the other day. Have you ever seen the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm maybe not as yes as Jim Carrey, but like I try to be that way. Where like if somebody says,
Opportunity.
yeah, I've gone camping 4 times in the last 4 years, and I've hated it every time. I won't continue to say yes to that again. I love glamping. I like to. I mean, we have beds. It's 2026. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can go enjoy nature from a cabin view and sleep in a bed. I don't need to pitch a tent to show my masculinity or
Yeah. Your
alpha
manlyhood. Yeah.
dominance. Yeah. So that's one. It's ruled out. Not for me. There's other things that I've done and I've absolutely loved. And it started with just being open to maybe this is something I'll enjoy. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really good place to be and stay at.
Yeah. When you were talking about, the sobriety, what I say, you say surrounded by, but I always say you are what you eat. So
Mm,
if you surround yourself with people that are pessimists, that people aren't, focused on keeping their peace, pushing themselves to do better, trying to be optimistic, trying to learn more, do better. Like if you don't surround yourself with people like that, like you are what you eat. And again, like I'm very thankful that I'm in a day and age right now where being sober is very trendy.
yeah, hell yeah.
There's a huge push into sobriety. There is a huge push into getting back to those core things. Like it is everywhere. People are saying no to going out to parties at 10 p.m. Like, no, I need to go to sleep.
Right.
Absolutely not. I have to work. You know what I mean? Like, 10 p.m. Yes.
Yeah.
Same. And like for a while, I struggled with that because I was like, I just want to be able, like, I still have friends of mine that are like, yeah, we put the kids to bed and then we have 2 hours together by ourselves every night. We don't go to bed until like 11 o'clock. I'm like, ugh, yikes, that sounds terrible. Because I'm not doing anything crazy, but I'll tell you, I'm waking up with my kids every morning at 7 a.m. and I will still feel hungover even though I had nothing to drink because I am tired and my body needs to rest. But I acknowledging those things again has become like this huge like trend where people are like, no, it's important to get your 8 hours. No, it's important to only drink in like true moderation, not what we experienced in moderation, but like true, that you're fueling your body. You're not just eating trash and, garbage every day, that there's a reason that you don't feel good. It's because what you're putting in your body is not good.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm very thankful for that because it's a lot easier to build a community. And I see Jonathan like when everything happened with me, he was not about to make these kinds of changes in his life, but because I'm doing it and we are the sole people around each other, when you see somebody, we just talked about this.
Yeah.
When you are almost like the leader of like the push to be more positive, people will look at you and be like, yeah, I do. Like, you know, you're a reflection of kindness and of peacefulness, and, you're not getting wrapped up in all the other bullshit. Like, you're really just doing the very simple things, those routine things, normal.
Yeah. I remember, like, I don't know, 2 months after I got out of treatment, and I was going to AA all the time, and doing the deal, And I remember, I think this was like my first healthy conversation that didn't fully like derive around like war stories and drugs and alcohol and all this stuff that got us in trouble and all this stuff. And like, I don't know, somebody like asked me about, I forget what it was. I don't know but I just remember the feeling I had in my head where like that my first reaction wasn't to be like, oh, I'm a heroin addict. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't my identity anymore. And like,
Yeah.
I can have a conversation with somebody, um, and ask about like, how's your kids doing? You know what I mean? Like, how's work? How's business? What you got going on next weekend? And like, their response or my response is no longer like, well, I'm getting fucked up. What kids? Like that. Like those were the moments that I started realizing like there's a real change going in. But yeah, I mean
I can relate to that from the other end though, because like when all this stuff happened, when I got diagnosed with everything, I consumed so much like knowledge. Like I
not
listened
food.
to not food. I was not eating food, but I was reading every, peer review article. I was reading Reddit threads. I was reading books on nervous system healing. I deep dived into this lady named Jen Donovan that specializes in healing histamine issues. Like I was like babbling all of the information that I could possibly get, but I was like bursting at the seams that anytime I talked to somebody, I was like, you'll never believe this thing that I just learned and nobody talks about it. Because like it was so mind-boggling to me that nobody is talking about the shit that I've learned. Why is nobody talking about the things that we need? Like I every time I go to the grocery store now, like it's like the goggles have been taken off and I look at like the food and I'm just like, don't get me wrong, what I wouldn't give to eat 17 Little Debbie's, okay? But also I look at it and I'm just like, how can you rightfully put these and push them and advertise to children and families that have low income? Like, it makes me so pissed that our system is so fucked that we literally don't care to take care of one of ourselves. Like, you gotta learn to say no. But two, like, you guys know that this stuff is linked to cancer and obesity and diabetes and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Like, it's been proven every single step, like, and you don't care. You
Yep.
literally don't care enough because you just care about the money. Yep.
Yep. It is. It's a
Dude, don't.
business.
I could stand up here, I could just scream it from the rooftops. But as I'm learning all of this stuff, like every time I talk to somebody, I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, that, and I can't help it. I'm like foaming at the mouth. Like, I want to tell people to like just open your eyes, you know? I know that you have to meet people where they're at, and people are
Yeah.
only going to listen to what they want to listen to. And a lot of people look at me and they're like, yeah, but you gotta live. And I'm like, okay, well, hot Cheetos and tequila, have fun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No. I don't know. I think it's almost like that scapegoat thing that we talked about, or that I said earlier about like in regards to our family. But it's the same thing when you're making like healthy changes in your life outside of that, and health and fitness and all these things. Like I always feel like I want a bunch of people to like jump on board with that and understand how important it really is. But the truth is there's a good percentage of people that don't get it currently and probably never will get it,
Yeah.
you know? And I've gotten to a point where, like, I don't expect much more from anybody. I just try to
Mm.
be that example that, and I'm gonna say that I wish I would have had, but the truth is um, even if I had it, I don't know if I would have paid attention to that. I mean, there was like us growing up. It's not like it was like we had the fucking mafia running our family. You know what I mean? Like it's not like we had terrible, terrible influences. Um, we had decent people who loved us and everything, but and like tried to help in their own ways. And so I don't think at one time that sobriety, like the whole, you could have played out the next 10 years and I don't know if it would have meant shit to me at that time. So I think everybody has to kind of go through
Yeah,
like
I mean,
their
I wasn't going to make a change until I had to make a change. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I probably could have gone the rest of my life living exactly how I was living. But you're absolutely right. Like, I think a lot of people, until you go through something that makes you change those things, I don't think a lot of people are voluntarily doing that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people too that get forced into a position where they have to change, you have really two routes: is accept it and face it, or accept it and be bitter about the situation. I think that happens a lot of times too, where there's a blame. You know what I mean? That same person that knows that all this stuff is linked to diabetes and Alzheimer's and all this shit, that ends up getting diabetes and is 300 pounds overweight, and they're gonna blame Little Debbie's for putting it out there. Like, not
Mm,
not not to say that I wish that the influence wasn't there, and I do think that there's a lot of good changes being made. Maybe not so much at like a government level, but in the sense of, like you just said, it's trendy to eat healthy again. So I hope that there's a lot of change in that. But I mean, if I sit here and continue doing drugs, a drug that I've came close to death on multiple times, knowing what I know from it all and where I'm at now, if I go back and relapse, whose fault is it? It's not the dope boy. It's not the drug
yeah, you got to be
itself.
accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a ton involved with it, and like everybody's normal is different, but I think attitude goes a long way. And two things, I guess they go kind of hand in hand, that I really just like, if I like feel this energy from somebody, I will go the opposite way immediately, because I can't stand victimization and I can't stand bitterness. Like I can't.
Mm.
I just don't like it. It drives me crazy. And there are people in our family that have those traits that might play a role as to why I feel that way so strongly. But damn, I cannot stand it when somebody is fully capable of doing something good for themselves and refuses and stays bitter and blames the world around them. Like I can't stand it.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I'm 110% the same way. Um, we all get to choose every day, every second. You can choose to be angry about some bad shit that happens to all of us, right? But like you can also choose to take that and let it shape you and mold you. You don't have to, outpour it into the world. You can always choose different. And that doesn't mean you have to like forego your emotions. If some bad stuff's happening, like feel what you're feeling. But also, I think I was talking to you or somebody about it, about like what happened to people when they were children, what happened to us when we were children. Does it affect us? 100%. But does that have to, like, how long do you hold on to what happened to you as a child? In like being like, you have to get to a point where you have to let it go and look at it like, I am now a 35-year-old woman. Was my life completely terrible? No. Was there some probably not great things that happened? 100%. But I don't have to allow that to affect me on my every single day. I can't just be like, well, I just treat people like shit because that's just how I was raised.
Yeah,
Like, no,
because
you
I'm
know what I mean?
Aquarius.
Right, because the sun moon is rising. Is that a
Yeah.
thing? I don't know.
I don't know. It sounds like Zelda.
The blood moon.
Oh yeah, the blood moon. Yep.
Yeah,
No,
no, you can't, I agree with you. I think being accountable is massive. And
and I think too,
that's
everybody
our
has
new
valid
normal.
excuses. I mean, everybody has validity to an excuse. I can. But the truth is, I mean, everybody has validity to an excuse, but I don't think it's ever truly, truly valid. Like, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like somebody's gonna resonate with me having a reason to why I stayed in addiction for 10 years, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, if I would have got it at 9 years, I could have spared myself that 10th year. So I think there's validity to reasoning, and I think basically it's based on people's experience, and we talked about this just the other day too, about like how long am I going to let this affect my day. I start out with a bad morning. Am I going to have a bad afternoon? Yeah. Okay. Am I going to have a bad evening? Nope. I'm done with there. I'm starting over right now.
Yeah, I think that's a big measure. What I tell myself how I measure my improvement is because like when bad shit would happen to me, especially like based around like dynamics in our family that still continued to bubble up, when things like that, oh my gosh, it would consume me for weeks and I would cry and I would be angry and then I would make phone calls and then I had to defend myself and I had to, and now I still have my moments where I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, how can I, what should I, and then being able to bounce back from it being weeks to now having 1 to 2 days. I hope that I get to a point where it's just a matter of, 10 minutes, but I'm not there yet. Like these things are so deeply embedded in me that like when they bubble in, I'm like, I still
Yeah.
feel it. I still feel like I still want to make a call. I still want people to understand my side. I still want to speak my piece on it. And like knowing that like at the end of the day, it's not my job to change anybody else's mind. It's not my job to make them see my side of things. It's not my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to convince anybody of anything. I have to sit right with the choices that I make in my day to day, and not everybody's going to agree. And I have to be okay with that.
Right. Yeah. No, I respect that. I also think too, like those reaction times or how long you let it affect you is also relative to like other things that are going on in your life.
Hmm.
Because like what I know the backstory of what you're kind of describing, and not to say that you were having a bad day previously to that or that same day already or whatever, but it's not like if that same scenario happened on another day, instead of it taking a day or two for you to bounce back, there's going to be another day where you do let it roll off your shoulder, like, oh yeah, because I've had those times with you where I thought I was going to tell you something that I heard that was going to piss you off, and you're like, oh yeah, cool. And then there's other times I'll tell you the same fucking thing about the same person or same people, and you're like, yeah, fuck them, like, let's go to war. Pun intended.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Right now, I've got bigger fish to fry here in my life. Which, BT dubs, I just want to share with people who are listening. I got to eat salmon for the first time in probably 10 years this past
Hell
week.
yeah.
Food reintros are just stacking up, bro. Like, oh, what a beautiful, beautiful life.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love it. I do. I
New
love it.
normal.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, yeah, I mean on that note, the premise was living how is normal, what was normal like, what's normal like today. And I think my take on how I feel about where I'm at and the things that I've heard about where you're at is what should be normal is being adaptable. That's my take on it. Is there's no such thing as normal. I'm supposed to be fucking weird. I'm supposed to have my own likes and dislikes and my own journey. And if I try to be like, my best friend or my dad or my brother, I'm gonna fail because I'm not them. That's that's my take. So I'm just gonna be Luke, and y'all might be like that. Fuck that dude, and some of you might enjoy that version.
Yeah, I think that's a good synopsis. Overall, I think my biggest thing is just finding a way to accept people where they are, you know. Uh, Somebody else's normal might not be your normal, but that doesn't make it wrong.
That's right.
And if we're all just out here trying to do a little bit better, let's listen more and talk less. And I don't know, just be kind. And I think that, like, when you meet people where they're at, sometimes not, being okay with not knowing where somebody else is at in their journey and loving them through that, I think it's a good place to be too.
100%. Love it. I love it. On that note, show us some love and be kind. And check us out on Instagram, TikTok. Email us. Obviously, tune in to the podcast. Yeah, emotional support siblings. Is it sibs or siblings on? I think it's emotional support siblings on Instagram and TikTok, right?
Yes, the only thing that's
Yes.
different is if you want to email us, it's emotional support sibs at Gmail. Everything else is emotional support siblings. Um, yeah, we're trying to pick up the TikTok following. So if you found us, we love you, we thank you, and we hope that maybe you took something positive away from today
Heck
with
yeah.
us sharing our loud opinions. But we're just trying to heal, we're just trying to do better.
Yep. There weren't opinions. We have experience with some opinions.
And some opinions about experiences.
Yes. And judgments. And we're bad people. I'm just kidding. We're not. I'm trying not to be. Anyway, on that note, thank you. Seriously, thank you for watching, paying attention, and all the things. And we will see you next week with another surprise topic. Yeah, good. On that note, we're checking out.
Nora, sucker.